working on the improvement to site conditions in India and sustainable and environment-friendly industrial production. The SEEP project of Germany, which is a German government-funded project which they are running in India. So his perspective would also be very useful for all the audience and the attendees who have joined us from various parts of the country. We are already touching the 150 mark. Pranabda, hope it would be okay if we could wait for a few minutes before we have more people who could join us.
No problem, sir. No problem.
Yeah, I think we just passed 2 o'clock. I think around maybe 7-8 minutes we would we will kickstart. We already have a good number with us, but we'll allow others to also join. There's so much. I think we can give them this amount of grace period in today's time when everyone is running from one point to the other to support their family, friends, and loved ones who are being affected by this current crisis, COVID crisis. I'm sure all of us who are on this call presently are aware that NIDM, in partnership with FICCI CIDM board, which is the Chemical and Industrial Disaster Management Board led by General Bhardwaj, have been conducting series of online webinars, e-conclaves, and online training programs for the past 1 year now. We've organized over 9 online training programs, 7th on industrial safety, this present one. We've organized almost a dozen webinars on industrial safety, and half a dozen e-conclaves on subjects, including, majorly covering industrial safety, for which Dr. Anil Gupta, Professor Anil Gupta at NIDM, who's the head of ECDRM, he's leading the team there. And we have Harshit Sharma from his team, who's been working tirelessly to make all of these initiatives happen. And from FICCI side, we have my colleagues Akhil Gupta, Mainak Majumdar, Varun Sharma, who again have put in all their best efforts despite whatever has been happening at their personal end. Have made sure that the training programs are well delivered, and also ensuring that they're well received by the participants. So, till about 5 minutes to 2, we were all under, tremendous pressure as we speak. My other colleagues, Akhil, Mainak, they're all engaged with, ensuring that, some sort of medical supply or medical facility can be made available to families of our employees who are affected by COVID. But then we will take another 5 minutes before we start. We also have Professor Anil Gupta ji. Thank you so much, Dr. Saab, for joining us today. A very warm welcome and very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Ruab. How are you, and how some issues were there in your family or some near close? And
sir, yes. Well, unfortunately, there was something day before yesterday. I lost my aunt, my father's sister.
Sorry.
And then another. Yeah. So there have been 2-3. Now we are trying to keep our fingers crossed for others who are there in the hospital right now. People in the family.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, things are. This is a little difficult time for everyone. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But sir, Dr. Saab, I'm so very well. I'm so very thankful to you. I mean, honestly. I mean, I think a lot of people right now who are engaged in dealing with their personal issues, under your leadership, and General Bhardwaj and General Bindal, I wish him the best and good health. I'm sure he will be back to business very soon. But I think amidst all of these crisis and tensions, we have been able to pull out a very important subject, which is as pertinent as any other subject is today in our country.
True.
Because the industries which we're talking about here, especially oil, gas, petroleum, I mean, they are continuous, process industries. They have not stopped operating. And they are the reason why we are surviving amidst all of these crises. And I think you've taken up issues which are very important for the country. And when we talk about nation building, I think this will definitely have an impact.
Certainly, because we hope that this second wave will be over soon, and then it will again a huge demand for faster development even, and in all the sectors, all kind of industries also.
Absolutely.
And currently also industries under pressure, for example, for oxygen and many things for transportation. So, and in fact, in an IDM also, many of our employees are under COVID. Some have recovered, and some are still facing problem. One of our employee passed away.
Oh my God, I'm so very sorry. I'm sorry. Oh,
yeah.
Please heartfelt condolences for
mother of my close associate and my agriculture project. So she also passed away too. So these are the common news actually everywhere. But anyway, we have to accept this challenge and we have to overcome.
And I think Bilkul rightly said, sir, we have to accept this challenge. And as you always, during the first wave also, I remember you mentioning and you telling to everyone that the work we are doing is very important for nation building, and this should not stop. No matter what challenge comes up, we have to make sure that we don't face new such challenges. To avoid them, to make them, to be prepared for them. I think this is a huge exercise which is appreciated across the board, sir. We already have 200 people who've joined us from across the country.
Yes, very good participation and very good speakers. They are covering very good examples also being discussed here.
So yesterday, Dr. we had some great presentations. They were very, so we covered not only the industry's perspective by Mr. Joydev Lahiri, from CGM, from Oil India. He even shared some facts and figures about the Assam, Oil India disaster, which through pictures, which were not made public earlier. So it made it all the more exciting, and there were a lot of case studies which he mentioned. So I was also telling him, so it takes a lot of courage for an organization to come up with case studies where they have gone wrong or they have been caught on the wrong foot. But then that is a huge learning experience for the entire industry and the entire sector.
So our Harshit is also not keeping well. Actually, he is also under COVID and he's on recovery phase. He is coordinating this program, but he's very much in the program. Past 2 days also he was there.
Yes, absolutely.
So he and his brother both are here only, and no other family member with them. So they are alone here in a quarantine kind of thing, and then he has to cook his food and he has to make arrangement for medicine and everything. So, but he will be very soon. He will be very all right, and still also you can see his smile.
Yes, always, sir. I spoke to him. He didn't mention, but then that's what a brave heart is, sir. He didn't mention that.
He's very sweet. He's very sweet boy, and yes.
Please, Archit, if there is anything we could do, if there is any sort of help, support from, you have our numbers 24/7.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Any help, any sort of, don't think twice. Just pick up your phone and call us anytime.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right. So, Dr. with your permission, should we get on with the business?
Yes, we can start.
We have Mr. Pranab Ghosh, who's the head of HSE Asset Integrity and Sustainability from Adani Total Gas Limited with us, a senior professional from the industry. Before I hand over to him, I would request Menak, if you are with us, to read out the brief introduction of Pranab Ghoshji, and also a very warm welcome to Mr. Bose Babu from GSPL. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. His presentation is next after Mr. Pranab Ghosh. So, Menak, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Good afternoon, Rubab. Thank you. Let me now read out a brief profile of Mr. Pranab Ghosh. He's the head of safety of Adani Total Gas Limited. Mr. Ghose is a seasoned HSC and sustainability professional with over 25 years of experience working in diversified, businesses, water, wastewater, chemicals, oil and gas. He has worked with world-class organizations, BP, Mahanagar Gas, JV, GAIL plus Shell, Asian Paints in a leadership role also he has worked. He has worked abroad with Schlumberger, instrumental in setting up excellent HSC system and practices for a massive multi-billion-dollar integrated drilling operation programs of Saudi Aramco. And also he has a lot of expertise in working with Asian Paints and zero sustainability initiatives for their flagship plant at Ankleshwar. In Adani Total Gas, he has initiated transformation drive in HSC excellence journey through implementation of behavioral improvement program across all levels for the mega expansion projects, 38 geo areas in India. And his basic areas of expertise are the ability to lead the large team, a great influencer to senior management for step change in HSC. He's a world-class HSC management system design and implementation expert. Over to you, Mr. Ghose, for your presentation. Thank you so much.
So good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Gupta ji, Sood Saab, and all dignitaries, and my fellow panelists, Bose Babu, and all others, all the whole audience, right? This difficult time, we talked about it. I think when I was hearing, my voice was really choking, right? And coming up and sparing time this time, I see some positive also, because when we are too much into this negative news and negative thoughts, sometimes we feel depressed, and doctors are saying that sometimes you have to be away from this and you have to engage positive way, so that this destructive and this will be good for your immunity. And that's what I thought. Let me prepare and let me present, and it would be good for me and good for everybody. My wife all the time saying, why you are watching TV all the time? Don't watch. It will give your mind more negativity. So that is advantage of this. Is the time we cannot do something only worrying about it. So better we not worry too much, and this time we utilize for nation building or some other work which we can do indirectly. So I think thanks for the introduction, Moinak. Whatever experience and knowledge and expertise I have, I always see it now. It is time for contributing, time for giving back to the society, whatever way I can. I may not be super expert. I may not be, the high caliber like other analysts or other members here, but whatever I know from my personal experience, I will share it very transparent way. So in this COVID time, we are working hard, as Sood Saab has mentioned, that we have one emergency. We should not land up with another emergency of our plant, of our production, which is the lifeline of the people. Like we are talking about gas distribution, we are talking about chemical factory. If they don't run, we will be another problem, like oxygen, anything. So salute to these people, people who are running this operation and running the show. And similarly for my industry, my CGD, all the CGD company here, Bose Babu is also here. So they are really lifeline for the fuel, for the domestic, for the transport, for the industries, for the gas. Without that, they cannot run. And we are maintaining hassle-free and 24/7 operation. And myself, as a safety professional, is trying to encourage them, make sure that they are healthy and the team is working, and that is the mandate. And as we have seen, the Adani Group, under the leadership of our chairman, Gautam Adani, has been doing tremendous work on this pandemic. And he himself made a war room and with his team, and monitoring all the situation not only his company, but outside support, community support, oxygen bringing from Saudi and other parts of the world, getting more container for oxygen, which is a need of the hour. So that with this background, let me start my presentation. I'll be talking about more on prevention side rather than how to mitigate. Yes, mitigation is also important, but prevention is far more important than I think mitigation. So I will a little bit in the last presentation, those who have not joined. So I'll talk about the company, what we are, about us, and what is our business and exposure. Disaster management, CG industry general, we talk about it, and CGD infrastructure, what are the key risks. I'll talk more about how the process safety and asset integrity is the key for this preventing this disaster, which we are now a lot of high potential accidents we have seen last 1 year. So this is the one of the key area. Designing facility infrastructure. Technology plays a key role, very important, that how we can embrace technology in safety, which other domain they are doing it. So this would be very important. And I will share some case studies in CGD which happened in our industry with us and what we learned from it, and so that that similar things we should not land up in our respective industry. So with this, this is the company. As I said, we are joint venture company with Adani and Total. Total, as you know, the French oil major, now they have transformed themselves as an energy major. So they are investing in India in renewable and gas and a lot of other businesses. So we are also having Adani Total also having a JV with Indian Oil and Adani Gas, Adani Total Gas. So in combined total, we have been working on 38 geographical location for distribution, transportation, distribution of natural gas in these areas, right? And the CGD is a sunrise sector, and our Honorable Prime Minister's vision to be gas economy from 6% of our fuel basket to go to 15% is CGD is playing tremendous role. All the CGD companies, and they are actually the true nation builder with help of PNGRB and MOPNG and Ministry of Petroleum. Our Honorable Minister, support this industry is going great. So we are having total 71 districts catering almost 80% population and 38 geographical location, as you see. And Adani Total Gas itself is 17 geographical location. We have already installed more than 200 CNG station and more than 5,000 commercial industrial customer and about 5 lakhs of domestic customer. So you can see the length and breadth of this business. So we are by nature of our business of a gas, which is hazardous, transporting it across so many kilometer, it's really poses a lot of risk and hazard. So how we are managing it and how we are preventing this kind of disaster. So that's what I will be talking today. So the typical city gas network, I mean, those who are not in this industry, it is not very complicated, but it's a kind of a pressure regime for different application. It comes from main transmission network, which is GAIL, GSPL. They are supplying the gas at 40 to 100 bar, very high pressure. And from there, we are taking the gas through our city gas station from 19 bar. We are making it to, reducing it to 19 bar, 15 to 19 bar. And we are different segment. We have CNG, that is the transportation fuel, as you see in all these outlets on the roads. And then we have the PNG domestic segment, the cooking we are doing, the industrial, then the commercial and industrial connection. We are doing it for the different industries at different pressure. So this is a this industry where we are talking about pressure, and the pressure is very important. How we are reducing this pressure at different level, and if this equipment fails, then you have downstream will be pressurized, and there would be explosion, fire, and all sort of incident. So I'm showing this picture to understand that how many critical control, so many critical controls we have. It is not a one particular industry or you are working inside the boundary. It is a kind of your boundary is the whole country, I would say, and how we are managing it through technology, through remote operation. We will talk about it. So this is just a basic diagram for our pressure network, the distribution and the distribution network, how you are distributing gas to the end user, different end user, right? So then this is a typical, just to show more schematic, how a typical CNG station looks like. When we go for a CNG pump or a fuel station, we only see the front end part of, the filling through the hose. But the back end, there are a whole lot of operation, whole lot of process is happening to get you the gas on your car. So you have compressor, you have cascade, dispenser, and you see here also. If we're talking about 200 CNG station. So each CNG station it can be source of accidents or incident if we don't manage it, right? And so that's why I just wanted to show a kind of a schematic of any of our end use location, correct? So these are some of the emergencies or accidents. Big safety accidents can happen. Some of man-made because of a failure of our system, failure of our design, failure of our operation can happen, which are purely man-made, people's mistakes, behavior. And we have other categories are natural calamities like flood, cyclone, and other things, which I talked about it in the last scenario, last presentation, last time. But this time, my focus should be more of the part which is man-made on the left-hand side. And if you see the tragic accidents in this still going on, it still continued last 1 year. We have seen series of process safety related accident, right from the Vizag gas leakage where 7 people died. Recently, we have accidents with LPG storage, 2 accidents with oil companies, one in Ajmer and one is Bhubaneswar. Created a lot of havoc and many people died in these accidents. And so important for the gas industry overall to prevention part of the safety to avoid from this disaster. So fire, explosion, failure of critical control, design deficiency, unsafe act is one of the big lesson I have learned from my 25 years of experience. So whenever I've done hundreds of accident investigation, and many occasions I see when I interview people, when I interview the person who was involved or lost or affected in the accident, so they always say, sir, probably I made this mistake. Probably we have done this mistake or that mistake because of this happened. So this is the last line of defense of all our accident incidents of unsafe act and behavior, which is a last gate, but not the least, which is very, very important. So I am working on the behavioral aspect, people who are the men behind this machine, and then maintenance and all that is it's no brainer. Everybody knows how machine can affect your safety. So now today's my focus mainly on the process safety side. Occupational safety, as you all know, it is people. I say always is the juta chappal topi is not just a safety. It is more than that. So people fall, trip, slip. Yes, you can be very severely injured, but process safety incidents, it can make havoc. It can have burn injury, explosion. It can have catastrophic. Many people can die this kind of incident, right? And you see very, very simple picture. The consequences are very high, but likelihoods are less. You see less accidents in process safety, but when it happens, it takes a lot of lives, and that's what it is. It's called major hazard, major accident hazard, and we fall under those kind of categories where this can happen, right? And of course, I don't undermine these occupational injuries. This is also I have seen when you are days away from work, when you have an accident, when your family met with an accident, it could be driving, it could be falling from height. Those are also very, very important. But today, my focus would be more on process safety side, asset integrity, and how it could be more devastating. So it is a simple diagram. I try to mention that any accidents or big accidents or fire or explosion happens, there is always a bow tie approach. So there is a prevention barrier which fell, and there is a recovery barrier which is also fell to manage this consequence. So there are two sides, right? So same applies in our industry, and we consciously work on those areas. Like if you're talking about the prevention side, which I see very, very important, like we have the gas detectors in all our location, safety relief valve, limit switch, emergency shutdown, a remote operation valve. And I know as a CGD industry how important it is when you are managing thousands of kilometers of pipeline, and if your control has to be remote to manage certain situation which is out of control. And these are all prevention. I mean, we have to do it. We have to manage it, maintain it. This critical equipment so very nice way that we don't see the top events and then other part of the barrier, which is the consequence barrier. These are all again very simple thing. We have CO2 flooding system, fire extinguisher. Fire extinguisher, people say it's a 1 kg fire extinguisher can save hundreds of lives. I have seen this. A small fire, if it can be controlled, it can be nipped on its bud. You can see big fire. We have seen our CNG station how the CNG operator, so themselves they extinguish those fire at the beginning so that it doesn't happen a big explosion to the that station. So these are very important. It is small, but people don't care that much to maintain it, but I would say, to everybody, my message would be to managing and maintaining all emergency equipment, like your production equipment. How carefully we ensure that all our production and operation equipment is maintained, because we know it can be shut down, our production will be affected. But the same way, I tell my managers, operation managers, that please take that importance to managing this emergency equipment. All your siren, call point, drills, these are your part of a business. And it is not that safety department or one department, they will do it. This is part and parcel of your business, right? So, so this is a very, very summary or snapshot, I would say, how we can control or we can prevent big process safety related incident. So now I would touch upon this process safety, operation integrity, or asset integrity life cycle, integrity life cycle. This is very, very important, because this can be utilized for all the industry, chemical industry, how from design engineering, during construction, during operation, your management of change, and right from concept selection to decommissioning and disposal of your asset is so very important in safety. Now, when you have seen after after this last COVID first wave, all our industries started their operation. And what happened during commissioning time, we have seen many accidents, and those are all very fatal accidents we have seen. And that is, again, we are talking about when you're commissioning and decommissioning your equipment or your operation, we have this incident. So we follow most of this, life cycle very seriously in CGT industry, because this industry, we have to do all this part, all this globe you see. Otherwise, we will be end up with accident or incident which we will not be able to manage. If some fire happens somewhere, how we are managing it in a remote place. We actually want to not to first place, not to become a cause of it. Once it happens, yes, then you have a lot of measures to do it. But best is to prevent it by ensuring this kind of life cycle approach. Now, if you go in more detail of this approach, if you see design, we do basic design. All the design of oil and gas facility, we follow this pipeline for ASME, 31B. For integrity, we have 31.8S. PNGRB has very well laid down standard on integrity management, technical safety, emergency response, and disaster management. So these are a basic thing we consider as part of the design. And this, of course, this procurement, there are plenty of specification, and every procurement of oil and gas industry has to be as per specification of ASME or all this different specification P4S, and that we follow. And this during this construction is very important. Our pipeline, when you're constructing underground, and how the steel pipeline is being laid, is construction procedure, the welding, which is very important when you are carrying the gas in high pressure. And all this construction is monitored by a third party inspector, and those reports are submitted to us as well as PNGRB. So the control, the quality, the QA and QC during construction is very important when you are operating your asset in safe manner, right? During commissioning, again, as I said, it's very important startup, safe startup. So a lot of safety on pre-startup, pre-commissioning checks has to be done to ensure that we don't land up with a big accident. And operation, as anyway, when you are operating it, we have people are focused, people have their more defined job role. So in operation side, we have much more control than some of the non-routine operation like commissioning, when you are doing decommissioning or disposing of asset. Those are more serious in nature, and I would say less control we have. Maintenance, again, we have permit to work, we have lockout and tag out, we have annual maintenance program. So this ensure your asset integrity through doing maintenance on timely manner. Specifically, I would focus here maintenance on safety critical equipment. Some of the maintenance, people always say that it is a risk-based maintenance and we can afford that. But my view is that for safety critical equipment, if it is to be done once in a year or once in a 6 months, we do it. We put that resource, we put that energy to do that. I would say better be safe than feel sorry about it. And then disposal of asset. Now we are having some of the assets are getting old. Some of the assets we are ensuring it is a replacement. We are operating more than 15 years now. Now some of our compressor, some of our valves, some of our meters are getting older. So there is a clear disposal plan or replacement plan for all these assets, so that we don't end up with having accidents with this poor or worn and torn assets. Correct. So this flow is applicable in all process and chemical industry. I'm sure the participants who are in this call must be following. And as a safety or integrity professional, our job would be to push this agenda with our operation team, with our management, not to compromise with these requirements. Correct. So, when you're talking about infrastructure and technology, since we are talking about thousands of kilometers of pipeline, the SCADA is integral part of it. This is important for all process, chemical industry, gas industry. This is very important, and for us as well. We are talking about master control room in Ahmedabad. We have three regions, south, we have north, and we have west. So all three regions have their regional master control room. All the infrastructure, pipelines, your DRS, the regulating station, CNG stations, all are connected through SCADA to this control room. And this control room in turn is connected with the master control room. So you see the master control room is designed such a way that there is a backup control room also. If this master control room, by God forbid, happens something, earthquake or flood, then we have a backup control room to take care of it. And since these are all cloud-based, because the data is also important, how you are managing this data, where you are keeping this data. Now, this kind of natural disaster, you have your data server room can damage. So we are now tying up with Google Cloud, Amazon Cloud, so that they can store our data in a very secure and safe place, so that the operation cannot be affected. As I said earlier, when I was working with Mahanagar Gas in way back 2005, I have seen that flood on Mumbai, the massive flood, but Mahanagar Gas operation was continuing, and the gas was running, and that is because this control, remote control, the SCADA control, and the measures, the infrastructure we have for all CGT industry to manage this situation. So this is backbone, I would say, the SCADA, the remote operation, the disaster recovery setup, how quickly, if something happens, how quickly we can manage those disasters. That is important. This SCADA can give us that opportunity or that advantage. So you see all the pressure, your flow, your temperature, everything you can see on your screen, and alarms. If something is go wrong somewhere, you get an alarm and you can then take your action. So this is the important backbone of our industry. You see a typical SCADA master control room in Ahmedabad, how they are monitoring different detection system. There are other billings and other part, but most my focus is in the maintenance, the monitoring, the flow, pressure, the detection system, how is being integrated through SCADA to the control room. And if some detectors are not working, we get to know. If some corrosion equipment, the TR unit is not working properly, we get to know in the control room. So this is a quick, I would say, reaction and recovery mode, which you can get through this kind of technology of SCADA control. And the second one is the geographical GIS, geographical information system, that is very important when you are talking about multiple location, when you are working in a huge geographical location in pan-India basis, how your network is integrated with GIS. You know where your pipeline is going, and this is shared with different utility companies, and they know where is our gas line. Let's say one company, I'll take a Torrent or other electric utility companies, they want to do a digging. So they know, they get our GIS map, and they then ensure that their digging is done properly, not to damage our line. We know through GIS all our facilities in a finger trip. Like if some gas stop happens, we would be able to inform all our customer through this GIS. We can also share a lot of safety messages during Diwali, during Holi, the safety precautions the customers have to take, to ensure that they do not interfere or intervene our pipeline or our overground utilities and services. Now, some of the case studies or example I would like to share, which we are really facing issues as a CGD industry, where is the third-party damages. As I said, our pipeline are spread across geographies, cities, villages. Now, this pose a threat on when a pipe are MDP, polyethylene pipeline, which can be damaged by JCBs, the unauthorized digging, and not taking care of the digging that kind of time. And JCB is one of the thing which we see they damage and then they don't realize, and this could be danger, and big fire happen, and this could be sometimes catastrophic. So we are doing a lot of work on awareness on this JCB operator, the utility operator. We call it Dial Before Dig initiative. And this is never ending. I think more we do, better it is. And all the CGD industry, all the utility companies working on public areas, it is important for them. And we have the utility coordination group to ensure that they inform us when they would be working in some location where we have pipeline. And our people goes there, our patroller goes there to ensure that we can identify those lines properly, and we don't damage and end up with accident. So once it is damaged, then it is no one's control until the time we take action to close the DRS valve or to upstream valve. But in 1 hour time, half an hour time, when the gas leaks happen, the fire happens, anything can happen. Public could be in danger. The 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 people who are around could be the danger. So this is one area which is we are working to ensure that we do not have any damage, or even if we have damage, we have minimum time to act to ensure that this does not spread too much to have massive incident. Another area, since we are in public utility and our gas is going everywhere in the societies, in the house, so we use the gas. Gas is very affordable to the customer in the cost point of view. It does not pose hazards in terms like when you are using LPG, it is a hazard. You are storing that much of quantity. And but this convenience we have is a fuel for convenience, but sometimes it's poses hazard also if you don't take care of it. We have seen the geyser connection people do sometimes unauthorized way, not informing us or not taking the geyser connection which is authorized by a contractor, which could be a source of fire, often house, and can lead to a big disaster when you're talking about a big building, right? Fire from a house can spread and can have a disaster. So we are working on it. We are checking all this geyser connection. We are ensuring that they are put at the ventilated area and correct brand and the ISI mark, the approved mark geyser is connected, gas geyser. So a lot of customer awareness campaign we are doing through using social media app, through application we have, door-to-door campaign to make our customer aware of the gas related safety. Because one, as I said, one incident on your house can be a catastrophic if you talk about the whole building, right? So this is very important and critical for us to ensure the safety of the people and the society at large. And another area, so in the transport fuel, we use this CNG. Now, the cylinder we use, I mean the customer use, has to be tested, has to be properly maintained. Otherwise, we can end up with a explosion of the cylinder. There are many explosion happened in CGD industry, several I'd say, and we are working on all CGD industry together to our people that 800,000 rupees checking the cylinder will save your life. You are saving a lot of money, I would say, using CNG. So better to invest some money for your own safety and for people's safety. So the continuous campaign is going on through SMS campaign, through radio, through television, through paid news media to ensure people about this cylinder safety, right? The safety on this part. So, sorry for this disturbance. So, we are now trying to work on certain technology that the gas cannot be filled if the cylinder is not tested through RFID technology. That is in progress. Pilot studies we have taken. So that will give us a tremendous advantage that gas only filled which the cylinders are tested and certified. Many unauthorized cylinders people are using to save cost and not checking it, and that is the cause of worry for us. And we are working on it, and we'll be able to make it zero with all CGD company under one umbrella working on this. So as I mentioned that with all risk and hazards we have, I think there is a hope there is a I would say there is a hope for future for this industry, and to make this industry more I would say take it up a higher level, we need to use the technology. And as much as use technology in safety, IoT based system now has come, digitization on managing safety and disaster using social media. I just given one emergency response application we have recently, uh, you know, uh, recently launched, where how quickly the emergency can be managed through a mobile application, how our emergency team can be uh, gathered together to manage the situation, and the media, and the population, everything can be managed through this reporting, quick reporting and tracking this through ERMS application. This application also gives, let's say, our patrolman going in some location, he finds some issues, so he can online, he can report this, and immediately our control room can get this, and they can talk to our emergency response vehicle to manage this and to ensure that emergency response team reaches over there. So with all technology, IoT based, and digitization, I think the next level in safety can be achieved. And I'm sure all the companies are working on it. We are working on it, Adani Group and Adani ATGL, to bring more and more technology in operation, and which will help to maintain safety. So that's all from me. And thank you for all of you for patient hearing. And if you have any comments, questions, I'll be happy to.
You're on mute, Prananda. I think you've gone on mute. We couldn't hear you. Yeah, the last few words, please.
I'm mute now?
Yeah, you're okay. Yes, you can. We can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't know how I was mute for some time. Or...
No, just for the last couple of lines, just a few seconds.
Yeah. No problem. No, I said thank you very much for nice patient hearing, and I hope this kind of session will give us more ignition in our mind to work more on safety. And with so many people are participating, and if one of us contributing little, and one says that drops and drops make the sea, so we all will be able to contribute to make this nation, which is our honorable Prime Minister vision, to free from this disaster and multi-catastrophic, and those kind of the families, how they are losing their people, right? So thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Pranab Ghosh, for that very detailed presentation and sharing insights of how Adani is preparing. Adani Total, especially, is preparing and mitigating various risks and steps you people are taking to ensure not only safety of assets but also of your human resource. There are a few questions which are coming in, and I would request all the participants to, and we will also encourage them to please place your questions in the Q&A window. And I would request the speakers, in this case, Pranabji, once, before, as we go on to our next presentation of Mr. Bose Babu, if you can just please see the questions in the Q&A, and if you feel comfortable, you can answer those questions. If there are any questions which you would like to take at the end of the session, we would be happy to take them again. Meanwhile, I would request if Professor Gupta is around, sir, would you like to make any comments, or should we go move ahead? So we will have Anil Gupta ji again at the end of the session when we take questions and for the vote of thanks. Pranabji, you can see the questions, right, which Abhishek Singh has mentioned. You're on mute.
So there's a question from Mr. Sandeep Sonkar. Sonekar is for JCB digging issue, the seller should mandatorily give the information to owner during the selling. Same instruction to be posted in JCB mandatory impose fine. Yes, an imposed fine not pasted like carrying PUC. Yes, it's a good suggestion. Now, what we are doing during our daily round of our emergency staff, they have a sticker called dial before dig sticker. So those sticker we are pasting on the JCB and giving a small memento to this JCB driver that please call us when you are about to dig anywhere. But what happened? The so many changes of the driver and the population, and sometimes they sometimes don't take that kind of care. But many JCB, I would say, driver they call us, they call our dial before dig number, so that our people immediately go. One of the work I like to mention here again, this is related to use of technology. We are talking to JCB company. So what they are saying, post 2015, all their JCB is tracked through GPS. So they know which JCB is working where, sitting in the control room. So they said that we can give you that information, for particular location, and then on daily basis. So then you can see if anybody is working in and around your pipeline. So then you can go and manage this. So this is another technology, but it is not very successful because sharing information nowadays is not, people are not very comfortable in sharing. So we are talking, hopefully because of the safety reason, we may get this information. So that will help us. But your information, your suggestion is very valid. Pasting it, this information right at the beginning from coming from the manufacturer. So that will help. So we will talk to JCB company to do that. So this number, they can post it at the beginning when they are manufacturing it. This is a very good suggestion, sir. Now another question I have.
Pranabji, what we can do is, if you are comfortable, you can write the answers in that very. You can select the question and you can put the answers down, which will be read by all of them. And if we have any specific question, we'll come back to you. If we would like to, right? Meanwhile, we can start the second presentation, which is by because we are ahead of the schedule, by Mr. N. Bosbabu, who's the CEO at GSPL. Would be talking on pipeline integrity management system, prevention of failures, a very important and pertinent subject. I would request Menak to share a brief profile of Mr. Bosbabu with the audience before we hand it over to him for his presentation.
Thank you, Rubab. Mr. Bosbabu is the CEO of GSPL India Transco Limited. He's also the Executive Director of Gujarat State Petroleum Limited, Gujarat, and he heads the Technical Services and Projects Department. He's also responsible for all pipeline designs, engineering, and execution of projects for Gujarat State Petroleum Limited. He has decades of experience in quality surveillance of natural gas pipeline projects, inspection of line pipes, design reviews, project inspections during execution, safety audits of various pipeline projects. He's overall managing the organizing pipeline projects and looks after engineering services for the Gujarat State Petroleum Corporation GSPC Group. Over to you, Mr. Bosbabu, for your presentation.
Thank you, Bob and Manik and Vicky for giving me this opportunity. Next. Okay. Before I start my regular presentation, there is a small disclaimer. Whatever the views and the details expressed here are purely on my personal capacity, nothing to do with the organization. Hope I'm clearly audible.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Just to give a brief overview about the pipelines. So when we talk about this pipeline community, because I see the globe as a one, because any incident, any issue, any risk we are talking about, any disasters, because it's one and the same everywhere, because like is a human life is the same everywhere. So it doesn't matter because which country you belong to. So we always should understand and have understanding about the global level, what's happening on this, what's the new technologies, what is the risk associated, how they're mitigating this type of risk when they encountered. If you see, I think because we have good enough now picked up into the pipeline infrastructure, about 18,000 kilometers is under operations, and another 16,000 plus kilometers are under planning stage, which probably may happen in next 4 years. It's a huge target for us to complete in order to maintain that energy mix of 6.2% to 15% energy mix. That is the ambitious big view and objective of the government of India. So let's see that what is the man-made disasters, because natural disasters we all know it, so it's beyond our control. Now today we are talking about the man-made disasters. So I just give a few examples what we just discussing in various other forums also. One very important this thing which come to my mind is the gas pipeline explosion in Belgium, where 24 fatalities were seen because of the small gas leakage. And you can see that a lot of cascading effect because of one small leakage, which immediately they cannot able to arrest. And similarly, we have a gas pipeline incident in India where the 14 to 20 people lost their lives. This is also is one major incident in India, of course, and because whenever such incidents do happen, there is a lot of issues on the ROU front, especially the farmers, which they don't like to give their land for laying the pipelines once they see such type of incidents. Because so our objective is to see that no such incident do occur and mitigate and prevent such things. And a similar one, Japan, also the gas explosion. If you can see, this is very clearly the man-made issue, because this is one of the serious concern in India also. Because why I picked up this picture, if you see the lot of development on the pipelines, there's huge residential, commercials, so many vehicles parked there. So there's a 30 fatalities and 300 people plus is injured in this explosion. So this is one good examples of where unauthorized constructions near to the pipeline. So today's agenda is on this multi-hazard. So let's understand what is the multi-hazard. So an approach that considers the more than one location is what we declare it is as a multi-hazard. And multi-hazard pose a serious threats to the human life and the loss of property. Sometimes given there is the impact on the environment also, like you have the product pipelines, especially in offshore, there's a lot of impact on the sea species when you encounter the leakage of the product. And of course, even in the onshore also, a lot of damage to the crops and the possibility of the fire and explosion. So you need to have a good expert doing that risk analysis, which will certainly reduce the risk of multi-hazards. So risk-based information should preferably available on GS platform for easy navigation, because it's not just only maintaining the data, but at times I think we need to have access to the particular location, and one access is closed, we need to have alternate the route for that, which if you have everything on GIS, it's more easy to do this in case of any emergency. So let's see how can we reduce the risks. So yes, the risk can be reduced by following a well-prepared integrity management system, which we have ASME B318S, which is a supplementary standard to 318, and even the PNGRB regulations is been declared notified in 2012, which is in line with the 31.8S. So before we talk about integrity, just want to understand what is integrity, what it does for the operators on this integrity management. So there are so many definitions for the integrity management. So I picked up one of the best simple thing which I can understand and explain easily. A comprehensive, systematic, and integrated process that includes all activities that are required to prevent a failure. Because that is our objective is to see that by implying whatever methods you want, but you have to prevent a failure. So that is the main objective. So if you see this iceberg, you see the small tip on the top, and you see there's a big ice on the bottom. When we find a small incident or thing, when you notice like near miss type in normal safety, so people sometimes ignore it. So over a period of time, I think it becomes so big, and then it will catch you, and then it will make you a big trouble, and it can lead to a major rupture or failure. Let's see what is integrity management talks about. I'm not able to go in details because the integrity management training program itself is a 2 days session. So I just give only the elements here, what all it covers. The integrity program is covered, I think, very systematically, well prepared the standard. I think out of so many codes and standards I read, I think this is one of the beautiful the standard which is drafted by all technical experts, made it very simple, very easy to understand and to implement. So there are 5 elements what is talking about: integrity management plan and the performance plan, the communication plan, management of change, quality control. So very beautifully has drawn this. There are a lot of detailed description about that. So I'm not going to into the nitty-gritties. If anybody is interested, they can go and read that 118S or even PNRB, the regulations. So if you see what is the need of this integrity. So when we talk about implementing this integrity system, so it will allow you to define the systematic approach. So that is the main thing what it is going to give it. And it is to identify the potential risk by way of threats and applying the integrity assessment. So it's like a simple ISO model, plan, do, check, act. So that's what the principle it's talk about. I'll just give how complex the pipeline sometimes I think to design. So I'll just go through it. So I'm not able to run that video. Now let's go to the process of integrity flowchart, because it's I think this entire the flowchart will cover 31.8 standard, because this is all the overall thing what we are talking about. And entire the training process can be done from this one flowchart. The simple first thing what the code says: identify potential pipeline impacts by way of threats. Okay, so that is what I think you have to start with. To do this, first what you need is the gather, review, and integrate the data. You need the data. What is the pipeline, the diameters, what is the design conditions, what is the materials you used, what is the product into the pipeline. So these are all the data: who has laid, at what locations it has been laid, how many crossings it have. The entire information is to be required for an effective integrity program. Once it is done, and then you apply the risk assessment. There are various risk models which you can apply. That I think this is we're going into cover into the details on the risk assessment. And then after that, I think apply all the threats. There are 21 threats identified as per the standard. And if the threats you apply, if there is no problem, again go back and then start reviewing after a period of time. If you find there are something to be issue, and then you have to further go and do integrity assessment. So integrity assessment can be again done in 3 methods. One, you have the inline inspections, what you call the pipeline intelligent picking, where you can measure the geometry of the pipe, wall thickness loss, any cracks, anything through the inside the pipeline and without stoppage of your supply. So that's the beauty of the inline inspections. And there are certain pipelines where you can't do the picking, like the case what Mr. Ghosh was saying in the city distribution. But of course, city distribution also major mains you can always plan and do it. But there are some branch lines where you can't do the pigging and we don't have the pigging facilities. You have issues. So this type of pipelines you can do the direct assessment. So that is one of the option you have where you can't do ILI. So and third one is as a part of integrity is hydro test. If it is possible, where you can have the alternate pipeline loop line which is available to take care of the downstream customers. So you can stop the particular section, do the hydro test, and put it back into the normal operation. So these are all three main ways of ILI, BA, and hydro test is called as integrity assessment. Whatever based on the operator and the need, you have to do it. Then once we do that integrity assessment, then you have to work on the response to the integrity assessment, because anything that you come to know that I think I do undergo a test, the ECG report, and then find I think there is a 90% blockage. So the doctor may advise immediately you go and admit for a surgery. So a bypass or whatever it may be, angioplasty or whatever it may be. So similarly, the pipeline also, when you find the report which is saying 80% metal loss, and you have to take immediate action. And metal loss is somewhere 10 to 20%. You can do the monitoring and take necessary action. So this is what is the very important. The flow chart, the entire thing is covered. But the more important is on the data. So the data, what you have to do is, so capturing the data, just like giving an example of one of the pipelines here. There's a pipeline where cursor is moving. You take the particular district. I'm just giving information how the system has to be rolled. That particular district, the gazette notification, for example, 3161 notification. Then you move on, go to that the pipeline route. You can see that boundaries, external boundaries, 200 meters on either side. Then select a particular plot for a SV station that is identified in the route through GIS maps and all. And you click the picture, make all this description, who is owner of the land. So this is one of the polygon of the land owner, the landowner details, the area of that land, and how much payment has been done. So all information can be given. You see, this is one of the railway crossing permission, is the single track. So you have the photograph, you have the permission, you have the cross section. All information is made available before you actually do the construction. So that is number one. So you can see that the satellite imaginary, how it has been pictured, and then the pipeline is marked. So from this pipeline, you can see, I think this is what this indication is being shown, how far from the village. So you can always see that from you lay the pipeline, or when you plan the pipeline, how far your village is nearby. And all the crossings also, you can have how far it is from your pipeline, and then the types of the crossings, etc. Because this information you have to keep doing continuously before actual construction, and as built, and during operations also. So this is what is we are talking about: gathering, reviewing, and integrating data, because there is a lot of data science involved into that. So there is a lot of garbage also. We have to throw away unwanted information, take the right kind of information. The data experts will select and take that information and put it in the format which is required for integrity assessment. When we are talking about the threats, we have to review the threats. So the codes and standards identified 21 threats, and this 21 is categorized into three areas because to make it more easy and implementable. The certain things are identified in time dependent, because which are dependent in the time. Like example, like a corrosion. The corrosion we keep on increasing over a period of time. So that is all the internal corrosion, external corrosion. So these are all the factors because of the CP. This is called under the time dependent. And there are time independent, because there is nothing to do with the time, because there are already the defects like the small cracks and minor defects which is acceptable and which is there in the materials, as well as the welds, either circumferential welds or the factory made welds. So that is all called time independent, or sorry, the stable defects. There are time independent, because that is nothing to do with this, that it can be can the third party damages, or the cyclones, the floods, or whatever it may be, it can happen. So the pipeline operator shall focus the mainly on the consequence, because the risk model, when you talk about the risk, is nothing but the probability of failure and the consequence. So the probability of failure is almost nil. You can say that, I think, almost zero. So then the risk is zero, but risk will never be zero. So there is always the potential risk. So if any failure happen, even one failure today in India, one major the incident where the fatalities happen, but still we have a huge problem in getting the ROU. So the consequence of the failures, what we need to focus. That's what I think whole world is talking about. So we need to focus on the risk radius. So this picture shows, I think, various the distances, the radiuses on the left side, and the various colors is identified from 6-inch to 42-inch diameters. In the bottom axis, this talks about different operating pressures. So when the pipeline is operating at different operating pressures, the high consequence zones and the risk radius will be keep changing it. So people has to work out what is the risk radius, and then see that you are taking all due care, whatever the facilities coming under this risk radius, not just only in your right of way. So what the risk assessment will do it. So risk assessment, when you conduct, it will give some idea where will be the next failure, because that is what I think it gives information fairly to the operator. And what are the hotspots? I think where things can go wrong, we'll know that, I think, because when the traffic, the police, they install the traffic signals, they know that, I think, these are all the more traffic prone area, they put the signal. So that's where the control is required. And it can give how many failures next year, because where all things can failure, how many it can happen, some ideas it can give when you do the risk assessment. And because of that, you can plan that how best you can use your resources, because you can't attend all 10 problems at a time. So you have to have limited resources, so you have to distribute your resources accordingly and based on the priorities, because where you have 80% loss, that is the top priority. 60% loss is the second priority. 40% loss, you can give the lowest priority. So these are all the things what it's going to give by doing a proper risk assessment. So there are various approaches for doing the risk and hazards assessment. So like what we discussed, what can go wrong? This is one of the scenarios by applying the risk. What could be the result, the consequence, and what are the respective likelihood? Because it can give some weightage by doing the proper matrix. It can be low, it can be medium, or it can be high. So based on the weightages factors, you should work out on each segment. So an operator should establish an integrity assessment schedule that prioritizes the pipeline segment for assessment, because you can't do entire the pipeline, because that you segregate into the proper segments, and in particular segments you apply all the things what we discussed in the flow chart, so that it will make life easy and focus on these areas. The assessment schedule should take into account all the risk factors that reflect the risk conditions of the pipeline segment. What it means is all the pipelines is not having the same type of risk. Like you have a 10 kilometers area where you have a major development took place, and then a lot of crossings are already there. So and then there are new industries coming up. The more the new things, developments taking place, the more the risk, because there's a probability of failures or risk can increase there. So what the inputs for the assessment in terms of analysis? So the results of the previous integrity assessment has to be should be considered properly. The pipe characteristics, leakage history or the repair history, and your CP where it was not able to give proper production during the last year, maybe one quarter or the 1 month. So that is all information has to be taken properly. That will give proper results. Otherwise, you put wrong information, I think your output is also will be same thing. So you need to be inputs has to be very authenticated and proper. The product what is transported, like you have sour gas, the sweet gas, and the various other the services you are operating it. So operating stress levels were at 40% level, or 50% level, or 70% level. So what operating stress the pipelines in a particular segment is operating. So these are all local environment factors, geohazards, like we discussed, maybe marsh areas, hilly areas, landslides. So we need to be very, very careful when you are considering the safety factors. So evaluating the risk and preventing and mitigative measures. So in identifying the need for additional preventive and mitigation measures, what I think the operator has to see is the likelihood of the pipeline release and how a release could affect the area in the immediate vicinity. Say, for example, you have a township very nearby built to the pipeline. So there, I think your focus has to be more careful, because that could affect the entire the residential area. All other pipelines, because okay, sometimes what is the choice? Because when there is a loss of the gas, but here there is a livelihood nearby, so the priority has to be given to the affected areas in the vicinity. That is the more important. So there are two main risk factors, risk methods. You can always say that. Though we have so many, the both can be used or separately, or it can combination, because the main the risk analysis, when you do it, it should be done by expert panel, or you should have a software which consists of the risk model which is proven. So that is what is very important. There are so many models available for the risk, but we need to be careful, and that model should have been validated and well accepted in the industry, that you can use it. So you can use it independent, one of them, or the combination of the both. So there is one model. You can see that I think event model tree you can just work out with a simple understanding for anyone. A scenario you can just create a third party the damage. That is what is event tree model scenario we are creating. So once the third party hits a pipeline, so there can be a rupture, and another case there is no rupture. So if there is rupture, there can be a fire, and there is no fire. So this is a probability how we can go it. So further, if there is when the release of the gas is there, then there can be immediate ignition or no immediate ignition. Means immediate ignition means there is a chances of the fire. So then it can go to the full fire. So, but there is no immediate ignition, but there is a delayed ignition or no ignition. Again, further it is divided into this. So delayed ignition also can be explosion, no explosion. So that's how the entire thing can continue, keep doing of the entire event tree analysis. So by doing this, you can find what is the possible consequence. So if it is immediate ignition, there is a full fire or a jet fire. Is a delayed ignition, there is a vapor cloud, and vapor cloud explosion can take place. And no ignition, only toxic vapor, the cloud formation can take place. Maybe some small effect on the environment can take place. So this is how entire, this is one scenario we are taking. There is n number of cases you can do it. Each and every case, the entire similar studies has to be done. So coming to that, the ways to reduce the man-made disasters. So while selecting the pipeline route and acquiring that ROU as per the PMP Act 1962, the focus shall be given to see that there is adequate safe distance between other utilities in that vicinity, which are hazardous in nature, to avoid any cascading effect, because that's what we are talking about, the multi-hazard effects. So the local authorities and the state level shall ensure that there is no approval given to the development of the residential or human occupancies, especially the town planning department shall not give permissions for the town planning within the risk radius of this pipeline, because that is very important in the safety of the public, because they are independent, because they don't bother about it, because the pipeline, you have maximum 20 meters ROU or 30 meters ROU. Beyond that, you don't have right to stop anybody developing. But unfortunately, the risk radius is much more than your ROU. So if something goes wrong, the impact will be there on the residential. So that understanding and the cooperation between the local authorities and the pipeline operators has to be there. And the main important, how do you reduce these? Because the local authorities should not, they can always give the TP schemes far away from the hazardous pipelines. So why you forcefully give near to the pipelines and put the people, unknown people or innocent people to the risk? So unauthorized construction on ROIs be strictly controlled with the support of local administration. This is, I think, one shown the beginning of the man-made disaster on the one of the photograph, which is entirely developed on the pipeline. So that is very, very dangerous, and then which that is completely can be avoidable with the support of local administration. Sometimes local administration doesn't support because unless and until because they don't want to go into the politics of the local this thing. So they don't come into picture to stop the development. But there should be understanding between the operators in the interest of the public. So we should educate and bring more awareness on this. So mutual aid between the various pipeline operators in that area and surrounding industries, which can help in reduction of the disasters and our objective of restoring the service at the earliest. So that's what it is. To sum up as today's conclusion, so the global experience demonstrates there is a huge reduction of incidents by adopting the pipeline integrity management system. PNRB, ERDMP regulations and PNRB integrity management and the Disaster Management Act is adequately covered the safety requirements of natural gas pipelines. So the introduction of the single call system for safe and sustainable pipeline infra in a particular geographical area is a must to reduce the third-party damages. So I'm sure the day we have a single call system, there is a crores of rupees can be saved on the damages to the infra and the loss of the product as well as the safety and inconvenience to the user. So these are all things can be avoidable if you have single call system. So there is need of personal certification to prevent man-made disasters, and joint efforts will be encouraged in handling multi-hazard situations rather than by individual operators during any emergency scenarios. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. So unfortunately, because I have to rush because I have to go for my RT-PCR test. So I lost my father-in-law day before yesterday, and though we do not many things are virtually, so unfortunately, because even the death cremation also I want to see virtually. So it's very unfortunate situation. So I'm not able to reach my native place. So which I'm planning to go tomorrow, day after tomorrow. So I just want to rush for my RT-PCR test. Though I have to go now, at the same time it's class. So I thought that let me present and then move from here. So if any questions are there quickly, so just put it to email. I'll try to respond. Thank you.
Bose Babuji, thank you so much, and we are really very sorry. Please accept our condolences, heartfelt condolences for your irreplaceable loss. And I can't thank you enough. In fact, all of us who are present right now here, on behalf of them and on behalf of the management of FICCI and NIDM, all of us come together to share our condolences. And please take care of yourself. You will be traveling as you mentioned after your tests. Please stay safe. And I'm sure you'll be able to. Hopefully, we are all there with you. If there is any help we can provide, please let us know. I'm sure you are very well connected. But if there's anything which we can do, please feel free to call us any time of the day. Thank you so much again for spending.
Thank you very much. And sorry because I'm not able to continue for all the question answers.
No problem at all, sir. No problem. We shall be in touch. We are grateful. We are very grateful to you. Thank you so much, Bose Babuji. Thank you. Bye-bye. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Bose Babu. And you all can imagine how difficult it must be for him being here with us today. But this is his passion. He's such a seasoned professional, as I said before introducing him. We were not aware of this loss of his, but still he could take out time during such crises and share his experience and knowledge. It says a lot about his character, his professionalism. And as I said, on behalf of all of you, I think we can't thank him enough for being here today with us. We wish him all the best. And moving on, we have Rishikesh. Thank you so much, Rishikesh. Brother, thank you for joining us. It means a lot for you, representing GIZ, you under the leadership of Raghu sir. that you guys are, supporting this humble initiative of FICCI and NIDM, which is led by Professor Anil Gupta from NIDM side, who's the head of ECDRM. There's hardly anyone in the sector what we are discussing today who needs any introduction of Dr. Professor Gupta. He's been a real source of inspiration for us, under the able guidance and leadership of Major Bindal, who's the ED of NIDM. And from FICCI side, NIDM, CIDM side, General Bhardwaj and Dr. Muzaffar Ahmed, Mr. Lavendu Mansingh, former Secretary Government of India, and Mr. Rajeshwar Rao, Senior Advisor, Additional Secretary in the Prime Minister's Office. They are all CIDM members, and they all have really backed us up, along with the technical and mentorship support from GIZ, Raghu Babu sir, and yourself, Rishikesh, today here is an evidence that how passionate even GIZ is about this subject in India. And we are really thankful for you to take out time amidst these crises, these difficult times where everyone is struggling right now to maintain peace and harmony in their own families, friends, and loved ones. But thank you so much, Rishikesh. I think we won't waste any more time. We would quickly request Mainak to briefly. Mainak, can you hear me? You're here with us,
I can
right?
hear you.
Please, if you could formally welcome and introduce Rishikesh Mahadev from GIZ before we hand over to him for his presentation.
Thank you, Rubab, and thank you, Mr. Mahadev, for coming. And let me read a small profile of Mr. Mahadev. Mr. R. Rishikesh Mahadev is the technical advisor and sustainable urban and industrial development in the GIZ. He's a geographer, GS and chartered engineer environment with more than 15 years of experience in projects with specific focus on international cooperation in environmental management, climate change, using GIS and remote sensing tools. His major areas of work are climate change adaptation, water and wastewater management, and planning of green, urban and industrial areas through remote sensing and GIS and its applications. His specialties are in international cooperation, climate change, water, GIS, water distribution design and management, green and climate resilient industrial parks and industries. Over to you, Mr. Mahadev, for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for your kind words. I'm just sharing my screen. So yeah, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, it is loading. Yeah, we can see your screen, Mr. Mahadev. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Rubab. Thank you, Mainak, and the team, entire team, from CIDM, Anil sir and Akhil Gupta ji, and also CIDM for giving the opportunity and trusting GIZ. So, good afternoon, everybody. And I'm Rishikesh, and so I'll be speaking on climate risk assessment of basically industries, where the specific focus will be on the oil and gas. So I'll be talking more on a perspective point of view and how industries are being affected by the external threats. So not just the man-made. So it's a man-made and used. So what I'll be covering what does it mean by extreme events or climate change, what is adaptation, what do you do in climate risk assessment, what are the adaptation measures that can be proposed in industries or industrial areas, and a couple of case studies. So let's start with some science, background science, so that all are in same page. Most of you must be knowing these, some of the basics, but I still
Mr. Mahadev, sorry to interrupt. Can you be a bit louder, please? We are receiving messages from some participants that they are not able to.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear now?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So I'll be covering some of the basics of climate change, and then I'll take you towards the risk assessment and adaptation measures. Just looking back from basic sciences. So what is weather? Weather is a regular change, what we experience within a year. Climate variability and climate change comes through a series of time, and it happens over a period of time. That means it over a period of years, in decades, we will come to know that climate has changed. So climate change, and there is a difference between weather changes, that is a kind of seasonal changes, and climate change is basically which happens in the changes that is happening over the years. So what are the past observed changes in India? So in last 100 years, there is a change of 0.7 degrees Celsius. That's an overall average across the country. But there are changes of the within regions, it varies. And most of the warmings are occurring in post-monsoon and winter seasons. That means in winter seasons, the temperatures are higher, the mean temperatures are going higher, minimum temperatures in winter seasons are going higher, increase in the number of or heat waves. So basically in last 30 years, concept of heat waves have been introduced in last 30 years only. So, and decrease in the cold waves, changing in rainfall patterns. There is also an increase in the mean sea level, which is around 1 centimeter per decade, which means that 1 meter by the end of the century, and other parameters. And also, what are the projected changes in India? We, by the mid of or by the end of the 21st century, we will have an increase of 3 to 4 degrees Celsius across the country. Um, Warming is widespread across the country, though the regional warming will change. There will be an increase in the precipitation, then also the increase in the uh, rainfall, as well as the changes in decrease in a lot of places, decrease in the uh, precipitation, increase in the drought prone areas, or increase in the intensities of cyclones. Cyclones in coastal areas across the country, especially the eastern coast, is quite affected by the cyclones, which will have a significant impact on the industries as well. So just for a showcase like how the temperature has been rising or changing over last 100 years, more than 100 years. So you can see the graph is increasing towards the end of the 21st century, 2010. And when we look at India's climate disaster maps, these maps are being India is one of the disaster risk zone countries where cyclones are happening, flood prone areas, especially in northern areas and certain parts of Deccan plateaus, drought prone area, entire southern central India and northern India are under drought prone, hot areas and cold deserts. So, when it comes to flood map of India, around 11 states are being directly affected by flood or flood prone flood areas, and almost seven rivers are being affected. Similarly, cyclone maps. India, the eastern coast of India is affected by the cyclones, and also certain parts of northern and southern parts of west coast. But on an average, in last 50 years, more than 40 cyclones have been hit in this, especially in the eastern coast of India. And you can also see the heat wave map, which is quite common in the central part of India, from east coast to the northwest part, which is Rajasthan. So this entire stretch is very sensitive to heat waves. So why are we looking at climate, or why are we looking at extreme climatic events, weather events? So it will have an impact directly on the industries and indirectly also on the sector. So directly, it will directly impact the employees. It will directly impact the building infrastructure, human force, workforce, and the production process. And in terms of indirect impacts, it will have, say, any electric power decrease in the water in the dam or hydropower stations. So that will have an impact on the energy supply, damage to infrastructure like road or water can have an impact on the industry. So these are all indirect impact. So these are some of the past experiences or newspaper events which clearly says that the impact of industries on the impact of climate on the industries. So especially when it comes to cyclones like Hudhud, which was hit in 2014 in Visakhapatnam region, there was a major damage. Then we have Chennai floods, which has hit the production units in 2015. Then we have heat waves that is impacting majority of MSME sector, where most of the workers are working in engineering industries, either near small ovens or welding machines. They're all the efficiency of the workers completely decreases. So moving to the next, what are the measures that can be adopted? So in terms of measures, there are two major categories that can be divided. One is climate change mitigation. Climate change mitigation is something which is we are trying to reduce the amount of carbon or fossil fuel, or improving the energy efficiency, thereby reducing the greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. So climate change mitigation talks about improving the energy efficiency measures, whereas the adaptation measures covers how the climate is impacting the industries. So mitigation covers how energy or how the industry is impacting the climate, whereas adaptation covers how climate will impact the industries. So which includes assessing the risk, defining measures, monitor and evaluate implementation components. So we will focus more on the adaptation side of the measures. So what are these adaptation measures may cover? So some of the measures would be like forest protection, improving infrastructure and building design. During in the cyclone prone areas, you can improve the roof infrastructure or trusses, improve the sturdy design for foundation, better trusses for the roofs, better infrastructure for walls. In terms of flood protection, we can raise the floor level. We can raise the electric appliances to a higher levels. So these are the adaptation measures. But whereas mitigation measures covers mostly the energy efficiency technology, sustainable transportation, renewable energy, etc. So, but there are many measures such as water and energy conservation and green infrastructure, which overlaps for both adaptation and mitigation. I will come up with detailed adaptation measures that can be implemented in due course of time. So before going for your own industry, you are the best, you know the best about your industry. So you should try to assess the climate risk assessment. You have to carry out the climate risk assessment of your industry by your own. So what does it covers actually, climate risk assessment? So it covers major components. So these are some of the terminologies that are quite widely used in climate risk assessment. One is hazard. So according to your where your industry is situated, you need to actually map, you need to know what type of hazards that area is suffering. Maybe in India, mostly cyclone, floods, heavy rains, drought, heat waves. These are some of the common hazards. Exposure, that means how well or how industry is exposed to such event that could be easily or adversely affected. Then vulnerability, how vulnerable or how sensitive your industries are to such type of extreme climatic event. This you can also assess based on your past experience. Then impact, what are the impact that your industry has suffered due to past events. Then adaptive capacity, what measures you have taken to cope up with such extreme climatic event, and definitely the adaptation measures that are planned based on the risk assessment. So in oil and gas, I can broadly categorize into upstream, midstream, and downstream. So basically, any industry or any industrial sector can be categorized like, so from where your raw material comes, where your production happens, and then the distribution of and final final transportation of the materials. So in the upstream, it's offshore oil platform, onshore pump jacks. Then you have midstream where the entire transportation and storage happens. And then the downstream, the refinery where actually process happens, storage, pipeline distribution, then critical infrastructure, for the external infrastructure like the energy, water, road, etc. Then finally your retail and consumers. So for any industry, one has to assess, it's a complete package. You need to assess the upstream, the actual happening place or production process, and the downstream. So climate expert approach that's been developed by GIZ in 2016, and this is it's also available online. You can have an access, you can do your industry assessment. So it covers the identification of climate change phenomena and their impacts, and assessing the climate risk and opportunities. There are little bit of opportunities when happens for many industries, like suppose in cyclone, a lot of electric poles were damaged. So such MSME sector who do this fabrication, those who do this electrical works, they get more more opportunities during such type of event. But grossly, uh, they are having more negative impact. Then we need to understand the identification and planning of adaptation measures and developing an adaptation strategy. So you need to assess different components of your industry within when you comes to your industry. So in terms of infrastructure, that is building and location. So you need to understand how well or how well your industry is in terms of exposure, in terms of sensitivity, and how your industries are also linked towards the nearby community. In terms of process, you can ask questions like whether energy supply is available, water is available, how sensitive are the manufacturing process, and how sensitive are manufacturing process to extreme climatic events. Then also the logistics and stock, whether the raw material gets affected, or during the transportation, if it is getting affected, whether your warehouses or storage units are secure from these extreme climatic events. Then employee and community, employee are very key components of any industry. So how does their uh, working conditions deteriorate during the, say, extreme weather conditions when they are working near any boiler or any oven or welding? So how their working conditions deteriorate, how the living conditions deteriorate, uh, and how the productivity and absenteeism what is the trend of absenteeism happening in what type of in extreme climatic events. Then how government is also supporting. So there are cases where government gives out one-time payouts to the industry, or they have a full-fledged policy so how they support in um, how government support. Then markets. So basically, when it looks for a large industries like oil and gas, mostly they are linked to the stock market. But then when you look at MSME sectors, it's mostly linked to the local markets and demands and supplies. Then finance, availability of credit during such extreme climatic events. So I have so these are some of the broad questions that can be asked yourself when you assess a climate for when you assess your industry for climate risk assessment. I also link, so you can always use this link. So extreme climatic events also many oil and gas companies like ONGC and Oil India through TERI or other agencies. So what they have identified is 78% of cyclones in Bay of Bengal, especially Vishakhapatnam, Kalingapatnam, Gopalpur, Paradip. They are affecting these areas, and these are all big oil units as well. Then category of cyclonic storms are being defined from wind speed based on the wind speed, and both cyclonic storms and severe cyclonic storm are will increase in the months of September and October. So risk towards the west coast may also likely to increase in future. Especially in terms of flood risk, these are some of the refineries, and some of the refineries are in high risk prone, but majority are in medium risk prone areas. And some of the pipelines which passes through the country, and this has been also been identified which are these and high risk and low risk areas. Drought also have a severe impact, and soil moisture also plays an important role in the pipes. Impact the damages to the pipes. So these can be assessed, or you need to understand the entire supply chain while you are assessing your industry. So interdependency of oil's infrastructure, these are some indirect impacts which can have an impact on your own industry. One is electricity have a medium risk towards the oil infrastructure. Similarly, natural gas, then transportation, fuel for transportation purpose is very, very important. They come under high risk areas. Similarly, telecommunication and IT, most of them are now controlled centrally. So monitoring, control, and communication plays, and they are at a very high risk in terms of oil infrastructure. Similarly, water and industrial health sector are also highly vulnerable. When it comes to climate risk of any oil industry, so you need to also assess in terms of what is the climate parameter that is impacting, what are the primary affected sectors, secondary affected and process, and what will be the proposed impact in your industry. These are all very industry specific analysis that needs to be done because of regional and local topographic as well as topographic and climatic conditions. So in terms, there are certain components like cyclone and temperatures which are mostly the regional scale impact, whereas floods and heavy rains, thunder and lightning, they're more of a localized impact. So you need to assess the entire from all the aspects comprehensively. So taking as a climate, temperature as a climate parameter, you need to understand how it will impact your oil infrastructure. So damages to oil supporting transportation infrastructure, fuel supplies and delays, increased cooling or load needs, increased maintenance of transportation. Similarly, in terms of cyclones, high winds, hurricane, and precipitation, it will impact the electricity, what we have experienced in Vishakhapatnam during cyclones. It actually taken out the entire poles, electric poles. More than 80 to 90% electric poles were damaged. So it will items thrown into air by wind or transmission lines, electric equipment, substations. Most of them gets damaged. Lightning striking these electric lines. Then coming to high temperature, high winds, in terms of water, how it affects. It will impact the cooling water quality, above ground infrastructures, and drought and extreme precipitation can also lead to further erosion. Temperature, high wind in terms of industrial sector, delay and interruption of other electromechanical equipment, tools, raw materials might occur. Then on transportation sector, entire supply chain may get affected. Uh, for example, Chennai floods has impacted the entire IT as well as the automobile industries across the country. So this kind of impact can occur. Uh, then then we have temperature at the oil extraction, refining, and transportation. It will have a damage to transportation infrastructure. You need to identify, these are just a reference component. You need to identify what are the what type of extreme event, which can be temperature, rainfall, high wind, and how it will impact your industry. Then high winds, how it impacts all the processes, especially fuel supply delays, interruption of raw materials, etc. So based on this, we have actually categorized for adaptation measures for all types of industry, not just oil and gas, are not applicable just for oil and gas, but also to all types of SMEs and large scale industries. So coming to adaptation measures as an overview for cyclones and cloudburst. So if you are a new industry, orientation and shape of building can be redesigned. Growth of growing vegetation in buffer zones, especially coastal areas. The mangroves are helping to reduce the impact of cyclones. High wind resistant foundation designs, anchoring of roofs. When you look at again Hudud, Visakhapatnam, which was most damaging one. A lot of industrial sheds and roofs were blown away. So that is something can be on a priority basis. Then high responsive building designs, foundation, better wall construction. So and of course emergency services as a soft measure. Then lightning protection, although it's a lightning protection devices should be installed in majority of industries, but many MSME industries may not have it. So so lightning protection system, protection to electrical facilities, then planting and protection of trees. In terms of heavy rainfall also brings a lot of soil erosion that will further have an impact on pollution carrying capacity of uh, toxic waste and pollutants from the industry, whether it's oil and grease or any chemicals. So basically, landscaping can improve the uh, controlling of erosions. Stabilization of soil, interception of toxic waste, etc. In terms of flood, especially prevention of site using flood barriers. I've seen many industries they just raise which are mostly located in downstream or in a low-lying area. They try to raise the uh, floor level, or they try to raise the entry of at the gate. They try to block the flood coming into their industry. Something like prevention of building using flood barrier, and then planning better drainage infrastructure facilities, which has to be done because in our country now the urban floods are also becoming very common every year. And protection and maintenance of roads, uh, improving water infiltration into the ground. The same place, the same region may have uh, you know uh, floods in monsoon season, however, but also drought in peak summer seasons. water scarcity. So improving the improving the infiltration of water into the ground can improve the situation. Protection measures for electrical facilities, foundation, raising the ground level, which is the most commonly used method, proofing of doors and windows, planning of providing means of evacuation or disaster management planning within the industry. Then heat waves and drought, which is also a very common, and it depends on place to place. It has started from now. It is from March till the end of June, mid-June. This is quite common. Heat waves are common in across the country. Heat wave, especially in coastal areas where most of the oil and gas industries are there. Heat wave, in addition to humidity, also enhances further uh, the the deteriorating capacity of workers, or uh, so that is something which needs to be considered. Heat waves, so a better compact or better building designs using of light colored and reflective paving materials. There are nowadays simple painting of roof that has improved the inside inside the industry temperature by 3 to 4 degrees. So that is something which has been low cost but effective solutions. Open water and water features. Trees are always present in all types of disaster, help in reducing all types of disasters. Then building to building shading, green ventilation corridors, especially when you are planning your big industry or in industrial areas. So where the roads can be aligned or designed along the wind direction, so that the wind flows through the road, and if you have both sides tree, it actually reduces the temperature of the industrial area. So something that kind of solutions can be proposed. That's what we have proposed to some of the industrial areas. Then cooling of building, better insulations, um, evaporative cooling, earthen cooling, solar chimneys, green roofs, better cross ventilation. Majority of MSME sectors, what we have worked on, they lack simple cross ventilation, which can be that actually improve their hygienic conditions as well. So cross ventilation, then better labor management. This is one of the things which are being nowadays being proposed by majority of governments as well, to manage the labors and reduce their workload during peak summer hours. Then management of water stress. So basically, we all know that's a drip irrigation system, rainwater harvesting, wastewater reuse, then smart water metering, etc. Then planning of resilient infrastructure in terms of energy, better mix of diversification of electricity. We cannot replace renewable with the conventional energy completely, especially for industrial use, but certainly at least 25 to 30% we can reduce the load on the conventional energy sector, so by using renewables. Then additional power capacity, then modernization of transmission or energy efficiency systems, better electricity storage, etc. We also have come up for Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, since I have worked mostly in these areas. So a complete plantation guidelines for industrial areas as well as industries, and also within industrial areas where what type of plants can be done along the roads between the medians. If it is a block plantation, whether it's a venue plantation, and we come up with a complete plantation guidelines. Similarly, for Andhra, we have also come up with plantation guidelines based on the local species, local conditions as well. So something like heat resistant reduction or noise abating, dust and smoke tolerant plants, air pollution reduction plants. We also suggested, up with revenue generating plantations. So these type of combinations, that if you can actually put, plant, it will be having a significant impact in reducing some of the extreme weather events. So just wanted to cover quickly what we have done in Visakhapatnam, a small case study. So Visakhapatnam, we have identified as cyclone prone, heat waves, high winds and medium to heavy rainfall region. So, for an individual industry, how it is being assessed. So for at the workforce, they are quite sensitive or vulnerable to cyclones and heat waves. Localized flooding, they are based on the interaction with the individual industries. So it's not we have done on a desktop. We have done the survey and come up with this kind of solution. So localized flooding, they are quite a low risk because it's mostly a flat area where the industry is situated, and water scarcity is a medium. Similarly, on the production component, cyclone and heat wave have high impact, and low impact for localized flooding and water scarcity. In terms of building infrastructure, cyclones, they are quite sensitive, medium to low impact in other categories. So we have visited around 8 companies, and now I have actually studied nearly 300, more than 300 companies. So this one, I just come up with some common suggestions that we have made and they have implemented. Cooling the companies because of heat wave. Majority of industries are, small scale manufacturing engineering units. So they have small ovens. The roofs are mostly GI. Earlier it was asbestos, now it changed to GI. So these GI roofs also absorb a lot of heat during the summers. Also, in addition to the heat, they face also the humidity component, which actually reduces or deteriorate the working conditions. So, considering all the aspects, we have proposed certain measures for the industry. So cooling of companies, painting of the outer part of roofs, then retrofitting of and planning of high wind resistant trusses and anchoring of roofs, because 90% of industries have lost their roof or damage due to cyclones. Then so also we have divided to adaptation action, that can be strengthening of roof, uh, improving anchoring of roof, more stronger connection between roof and walls and foundation. It's a low cost measure also. So it's a kind of that will help against storms and tropical cyclones. Similarly, for heat and tropical, light coloring roofing, reflective surfaces, which comes under medium cost, and of course impacts from the heat wave. Sorry. So similarly, we have come up for each industry. We have suggested different types of measures. Say for case one industry, we propose based on their industry. We propose strengthening of roof, improve cross ventilation, roof insulation, insurance, because majority of MSME sector, we found that basically they are not insured. The heat and tropical cyclone resistant planning of shed. Then we also gave them small drawing of how the truss or how the shed should be. Then solar and wind power. Case two, we proposed strengthening of roof structures, dehumidification process, because their processes involved, their processes are sensitive to humidification. So that is very important component that we have proposed. Then rainwater harvesting, uh, then replacement of, they have partially replaced their asbestos sheet, but because, and then proposed replacement of remaining asbestos sheets. Then dust collector, their processes are also very sensitive to dust, so that is also being proposed, and roof insulation. So conclusion is, just wanted to conclude that you know your industry better than any outsider. So you need to understand what type of key climatic hazards impact your area. You identify the key areas, which is building infrastructure, processes, supply chain, whether it's from the raw material side or the finished product side, the entire supply chain, logistics and stocks and warehouses, employees and nearby communities, then other factors like government support, markets, and finance. And then strategies, you can come up with the adaptation plan. We have also come up with whatever I've shown you, the adaptation measures in terms of guidelines, manuals, and plantation guidelines. It's available in the internet. GIZ being a development agency, we share all the information, knowledge, products. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Rishikesh, for your presentation. I think it was well received. While you were presenting, we in fact midway your presentation we started getting some feedback from our from our attendees who were really keen to have get a hand on the copy of your presentation also, because they thought it was very relevant not only for themselves but their colleagues in the industry. And I think that is the entire purpose of conducting these online training programs, because we want to create capacities amongst the industries. Whoever attends these programs, these online training programs or our webinars or our e-conclaves, we consider them as our ambassadors who would take this and spread the word amongst their colleagues and friends in the industry. And I think that is very important. And that is one of the reasons why we continue to get participation from across the country. On an average over 400 during all of our programs, which I think is a testimony of the quality which we intend and we actually deliver through experts like you. And on behalf of the CIDM board at FICCI and NIDM, I would like to thank you and GIZ for coming forward to make this presentation today. Some very relevant details, some very relevant experiences of GIZ in India, especially in industrial clusters, which have a huge potential to grow, at the same time which also offer a huge risk also if we don't really tap the issues during the planning stage of those clusters. And GIZ has done phenomenal work in this area in Gujarat, in Andhra, in other states like Uttarakhand. And thank you so much, and congratulations for the great job which has been done by you and the SEED team at GIZ. Thank you, Rishikesh.
Thank you, Rubab. Thank you so much.
There are, in fact, I would, if we have Varun with us. Varun, did you get to speak to Dr. Ahmed? I don't know. He was in another meeting. Dr. Ahmed is a former member at the National Disaster Management Authority and also a member of the FICCI CIDM board. We expect him to join us any moment. But then his meeting got a little stretched with some government officials on the current ongoing COVID crisis. But we have Professor Anil Gupta with us, HOD ECDRM at NIDM. Harshit, if we can check with Professor Gupta.
Yes, sir. I'm checking, sir.
Quickly, because then we will also wrap up for the day. We can questions meanwhile, or maybe we can email these questions to our participant, because I would want ideally people to get free and and attend to more pressing issues if they have at their personal end. So if you could just please check with Professor Gupta. Varun, if you could also quickly call up Dr. Ahmed, who's I think who's in Kashmir as we speak, if he can connect with us. I think this has been the biggest advantage of these virtual meetings, that no matter where the expert or the participant is, geographical locations mean nothing now, and all of us can connect from wherever we are. So we have Professor Gupta with us. Dr. Thank you so much for being here. We just had a very very interesting, very meaningful, thought-provoking, I would say, presentation by Rishikesh Mahadev from GIZ. He's part of the same SEEP team of Mr. Raghu Babu, you are aware.
Yes,
and Mr. Raghu Babu just sent me a message complimenting both the partners, NIDM and FICCI, for conducting such a program in these difficult times. I have his SMS, and he says, we are always there to support these two, this partnership of FICCI and NIDM, as and whenever it is required. So that's a very solid commitment coming from Mr. Raghu Babu, who's the project director for SEEP project at GIZ. I would like your thoughts and your comments, Dr. Gupta, on the conduct of this OTP, how this and moving forward, how more relevant we can make it, and how we can build better capacities moving forward. Over to you, Dr. Gupta.
Thank you, Ruab, and thank you entire team of CIDM and FICCI for undertaking this joint program. In fact, this is a series of program we are undertaking. And as we have moved through this journey, we have started taking different topics, looking to the emerging needs also, and also looking to the fact that industries are facing a wide variety of challenges. Initially, some of our programs were more focused on looking at restarting the industries after the lockdown period. And now again, this kind of situation is there. So I think maybe one of the next program will be covering this kind of discussions also, maybe some webinar or training program, that how to restart the industry in a different situation, not normal kind of thing. So NDMA had issued a guideline also last year. So do that guideline stands now also, or would we require some kind of changes also? So maybe that discussion may also be relevant. Then during this COVID second wave, how the people working in industry and how the workers and their family members are able to manage this challenge. So how do we look at the health aspects and health infrastructure facilities also in industrial areas? I think these are the new topics that we would like to add in our future program, maybe next program. So these things I find that as in the past also, we have been trying to improve upon these things. So how and also not only the major industries, but also medium and small industries. So focusing on industrial estates where large number of industrial agglomerates are there. And so we'll also look at these kind of things. But this program, which was very rich in deliberations by the experts, many were there from industry, but the kind of content they presented were not limited to one industry, but they brought examples from a range of previous incidences also, and otherwise various management lessons also. So I'm very happy that this cooperation is ongoing, and will certainly take the journey forward together. And we'll discuss that what are the areas we will take up in the next program based on our recent experience. And I'm sure that some of the participants might give some ideas in their feedback form also, as feedback is important for getting them the certificate. So once they submit the feedback form, they can download their certificates. So that is also the thing. So I once again extend my sincere thanks to all the speakers, all the participants, and the entire team of FICCI, Mr. Ruab, Shri Akhil Gupta, Mainak Majumdar, And from our side, Mr. Harshit, Fatima, and all the people who were associated directly and indirectly for making this program a success. Mr. Mahadev, his presentation was excellent, and we had a long cooperation. Mr. Raghu Babu, and myself. In fact, we have been working together even before Raghu Babu joined GIZ. While he was with Central Pollution Control Board, I was in Bhopal. So since then, I have been we were collaborating, and we had opportunity to work together. So it is really a matter of great happiness. But the last message that during this COVID wave 2, all of you, please take care of yourself, take care of your near and dear ones, and I wish you stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you. And over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta, for your very encouraging words, and you summed it up very well. In fact, I'll take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Muzaffar Ahmed, who's joined us. Thank you so much, Dr. Saab. Very good afternoon and a warm welcome. I hope we are audible to you, Dr. Ahmed. He could take out time from his ongoing meeting. We are glad he has joined us. I think he must be just wrapping it up. So before we have his mic unmuted, I think Dr. Gupta, I would want to return the same gratitude to you, to your leadership, and of course Harshit and Fatima for their tireless effort in bringing up this very successful OTP together, especially because of the numbers. I think the numbers says it all. It also is a testimony, because there could be this is the 7th OTP in the series on industrial safety, on different aspects of industrial safety, and there could have been a fatigue during these many weeks, but we have maintained the same 400 plus around number. And even during today's COVID-2 wave, I think, it's a deep sense of gratitude. I think I would want to thank NIDM for believing in us, for collaborating with the CIDM board, and bringing something out very meaningful for the industries, for industry professionals, for government officials, for people from the civil societies, from academia, all of those. The sort of profiles we have of people who join us is from across the sectors, across the different spectrums of the society. And I think this is where this is how we can really judge the success of our initiative. And with sense of satisfaction, we can say, and you also rightly said, we will now, based on the feedback, prepare for the next OTP or the next webinar, whichever it is, on this subject, which we started during the lockdown period, which is still relevant. And you very rightly mentioned about the NDMA guidelines on restarting of industries, which came out on 9th of May last year. And it is worthwhile going back to those guidelines and helping people and industries revise those and refresh those guidelines. And I think you've given a hint, and we will ride on that hint, and we will work with you and your team to develop another program sometime in next 2 to 3 weeks, and reach out under your guidance to the industries, then they can benefit out of this. So I would, before we close, I would just like to call upon Dr. Ahmed once again. We can have a few final words from him on behalf of the CIDM board. He's been very encouraging all this while. He's been always made himself available. So is today is no exception. But I think I don't know if our voice is reaching him. Akhil, do you think Varun, should we call him once again?
Yeah, I think if Varun can give him a call once again, because I don't think he's able to listen to us. Probably there's some technical error or something.
Ending is another call.
You can just check once. Otherwise, if he has any other technical problem or something, then we can.
So we'll wait for another 10 seconds, maybe, Varun, while Varun is making a call.
All right.
Please let us know. Thank you. And meanwhile, thank you so much, all the participants, as the Dr. Anil Gupta ji mentioned about how you can get the certificate. And Harshit has been updating on the chat window. We will keep the chat window active for a few moments, for a few minutes, even after we end today's session, because there are some very important points which Harshit has mentioned as to how you can, what steps you have to follow to download the certificate of this particular training program. It's a very organized process. Stepwise, if you follow this process, you can probably copy and paste it for your own reference, all the participants, and you can download this certificate, which is based on your attendance of the 3 days what you've attended. We have Dr. Ahmed with us. Dr. Ahmed, can we have the final comments from you? Thank you so much and welcome today.
Thank you, Rubab. Thank you, Rubab. I must compliment you and Professor Anil Gupta for organizing this important training program for the safety and disaster risk reduction in the industries, which is going to be of immense help in making our industry safe. I'm sure the partnership with what FICCI CIDM board and NIDM has taken place is going to organize many such webinars which are going to be helpful in reducing the disasters especially in the critical care industries and other sectors as well. I must compliment you along with your team and also our members of CIDM board under the able leadership of General Bhardwaj, and also we must compliment the efforts of Professor Anil Gupta, General Bendal of NIDM, who have always been with us with the CIDM board for organizing these events. I am sure the training must have been useful to participants. I must thank the presenters and our resource persons who have done an excellent job in imparting their knowledge. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed, for your ever so encouraging remarks. You've been one of the key source of inspiration for all of us present
Thank
here.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Thank you. I hope you are doing well and keeping safe, sir. Our best wishes are with you always as we seek your blessings for all our such initiatives. Thank you. Dr. Gupta, I think this is time to say goodbye to all our participants. As we thank Dr. Ahmed and all, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible and visible, sir. Yes.
To the financial management and budgeting, which students will be able to.
So I think we can call it a day, and the process of getting the certificates is well mentioned. You can visit the training.nidm.gov.in website of NIDM to download your certificates of participation. So on that note, to all my colleagues at FICCI, on behalf of Presidium of FICCI and Secretary General's Office, Akhil, Mainak, Varun, Dr. Gupta, General Bindal, Harshit, Fatima, on behalf of everyone part of the organizing team and the CIDM board, I wish all the participants the very best. Please take care of yourself, your family, and your loved ones. It is a very testing time, but I'm sure, like we've done it, like we've always come up, with a lot of resilience in the past. We will show the same resilience even today as we fight this COVID wave. And we as humans, as humankind, we would show that strength to deal with this difficult situation. But all of us together in this problem, and we'll come out together as well. But by maintaining distance, by following the safety protocols, which are very basic, very simple to keep this COVID virus at bay. The virality of the virus is changing, but so is our resilience. We are getting stronger by the day, and we have to show more resilience as we go deeper into this crisis and we try to come out of this. So on that note, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us for 3 successive days. And we will be back with another online training program or a virtual initiative on the subject to build better capacities in the industries in the country. Any final word from anyone before we close it? Akhil, Harshit, Manak, Varun, if you want to say anything, please feel free.
I think, Rubab, for the certificates, we are getting some messages in the chat window that people are not able to download the certificate right now. So I guess,
Yeah.
I guess the
After
No,
Sorry.
once the program is over, once the program is closed, and Harshit, you tell when they will be able to.
Yes, actually, sir, when Vicky will provide us the attendance sheet, then I will upload it on our NIDM training portal. Then it will be shown on the individual dashboard of the participants, sir.
Wonderful.
Okay, so that means the certificate will be available to download maybe in next week or so. So I
Yes,
request
yes, sir, yes, sir.
I request all the participants to wait patiently for a week. We will send out a notification to all the participants that the certificate is available for download,
Yes, sir.
and then you will be able to download.
Yes, sir.
I think that's a very useful update,
Yeah.
and so that the participants can sit back and relax for a week and
Yes.
wait for some action from our side, from the organizer side. We'll
Correct.
reach out to you once the certificate is ready for downloading, and that's when you can go and download the same.
And also we will be sharing the PPTs when we send out the notification. We'll share the PPTs as well.
Brilliant. I think that's something which they are looking forward to. So
Yes.
to all the participants who are almost 300 in number right now here, and the others who witnessed this, please, thank you so much for making and contributing to the success of this online training program. And from all of us here at NIDM and CIDM, a very good evening to you. Have a great day ahead, whatever is remaining, and please take care of yourself. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.